Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I'm absolutely thrilled that you are here. My name is Billy Dees. I don't know where you're catching us, but you can catch us pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, on down the line. You can also tweet me. You have to be nice now. You can tweet me, though, at Billy Dees. On the line with me today, I have comedian Christine. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
And also Jen. How are you, Jen?
I'm well, thank you.
These ladies are the hosts of a podcast called Moms Are Not Funny, and we're going to talk about that. But obviously, I want to talk about you guys a little bit. I'll start with you, Jen. Now, you're from Canada, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Christine, you are as well. I know that I've talked to you before.
Yes.
How did you two become associates?
We met at Craft Heads, which is a local craft brewery in Windsor, and they host a weekly stand-up night.
Oh, okay.
And when we met, Christine came up to me after my set, introduced herself, and then hugged me.
Okay. Well, that's a good greeting, right?
It was socially acceptable then.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys became friends. Now, do you both do stand-up?
Yeah. She does a lot more than I do, but yeah.
Okay.
I grab anything I can get my hands on. And fortunately, like the last couple of months, there were a lot more shows and stuff happening around here that was out of the norm, but it was a good run.
Now, I'm from Ohio, which is obviously part of the United States, actually just south of the Canadian border there. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Lake Erie separates us. COVID is pretty bad in my neck of the woods, and anything involving clubs, bands, all that stuff is pretty much off the chart for right now. It's just not happening. Is that where are you guys kind of like that? How are things where you guys are?
Now we're there now. We were doing really well in October, which is why there was like more comedy nights and stuff like that. Like I think there were some days where we had 0 cases, 1 case, 3 cases, but now we're in the red zone, soon to be in lockdown.
Yeah.
So I don't leave the house.
Yeah. It's gotten, there's nothing now. So we went from like a whole bunch of different places that we weren't used to like nothing. So it's like, here we go.
Are you guys movie fans?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious if you're movie fans. You know, over the years in the 1950s and 60s, everybody was worried that TV was going to make an impact on movies, and they got bigger. And the 70s, cable was introduced. It was originally designed to help people in rural areas get a signal, but it became a method of distribution. And as that grew in the 70s and 80s, everybody said, okay, this is the end of movies. Nothing happened. Movies got bigger. And then with playable media, you had VHS, you had Blu-ray and all these other things. Movies got bigger. Even with streaming, movies got bigger. But now, you know what? Sitting in a room with a couple hundred strangers, maybe 1,000 strangers in one of those blockbuster weekend openings, elbow to elbow with people in a closed room for 2 hours. Are those days going to return? Well, I'll start with you, Christine, on that. What's your opinion?
I think they will, but I just think it'll be a long time. Like I won't. My daughter is a huge movie buff, like loves going to the actual theater. Yeah. And I feel bad for her because I don't think that will be happening for a long time. And I'm really mad because the new Wonder Woman movie was coming out last summer and I got ripped off of that. I was so gung. I needed that.
Yes. I was the same way. Top Gun 2, and they actually, they shot this movie in IMAX on the real jets and everything, and I was all pumped to get. And no, Jen, what's your opinion?
I think definitely it'll come back. Like I think this new normal won't be permanent. Like everything went back to normal after the Spanish flu. Mm-hmm. It just takes some time. So. But it'll be a few years. And as long as movie theaters can survive, and if they can't survive, then someone new will come in and then there'll be new movie theaters. So the experience might change a little, but I mean, there's still going to be concerts. There's still going to be music festivals. It just might take a few more years. And
yeah. I'm kind of, if I was an executive right now for a studio, I'd be a little concerned, only because it's one thing to overcome the fear, which might happen in a few years.
Yeah.
But people's habits have changed. Is going to the movies going to be something that you want to do after you haven't done it for several years, after you've gotten used to staying at home and watching movies at home? We'll find out. I mean, they've overcome some big obstacles before.
I think people will be dying to do stuff, to be around people and be around strangers even. Yeah. So I think, it might take a few more years than theaters would like, but it's, we're social creatures by nature. So.
Or even just start out slower, smaller venues and then build up.
Yeah.
It'll be hard for anybody to go back to it. Even the people that were like diehards.
Yeah.
It'll be a little different. It'll be a little weird, but they'll get there.
Yeah. You guys are probably young to remember, but in the mid 70s is kind of where the blockbuster really started happening. Summers really at one time were not considered good in Hollywood because kids were outside playing and all these other things. But Jaws changed everything. And then Star Wars and
yes.
I think if they can bring back that anticipation of a movie, waiting outside and hoping you can get in and all these other things that went on with all these blockbusters, if they can bring back that excitement, that would be, if I was in the marketing department, something I would do, because I do believe that experience with the big screen and everything is all kind of part of it. You guys have a podcast, and this is interesting. The name of the podcast is Moms Are Not Funny. Now, what exactly, I'll start with Christine on this one. What is the premise of Moms Are Not Funny?
Well, it actually came from Jen. She'd probably be better to give this a go. Yeah.
So it's kind of a play off of the fact that, people say women are not funny. And then, so what's less funny than a woman? It's obviously a mom.
Okay.
And then, we're both moms. We're both comedians. And the whole premise of it is to talk to other comedians about the moms that inspired them and their sense of humor.
Yeah.
So we interview both male and female, and people who are moms, people who aren't moms or have no kids or no intention of having kids. But it's about really the moms, whether they're their own moms or fictional moms from TV or stand-up comedians that really inspired their sense of humor and, how they think about life.
Yeah.
It just kind of shines a light on those that might not have been seen, and where even if they're not out there, that character is not on that TV show, is not the funniest one, just the way they, you know what I mean? Peg Bundy, she might not be the funniest, but my God, come on. Right.
Absolutely.
So it just shines a light on that. It's pretty cool. I actually, I wasn't keen on the idea because I don't have a great relationship with my mom.
Oh yeah.
And that played a huge part in this, but thankfully Jen was very helpful in helping me see the direction we were going to go in. And I'm so grateful because we have talked to so many comedians and I've learned so much from each one. I've walked away with something. So it's been quite an experience.
And some of them had great relationships with their moms and some of them had terrible relationships.
Yeah.
And everyone has a mom in some way or another, and that affected their sense of humor. If you're funny because your mom was terrible, then that affected your sense of humor. So.
And it's true. Or the people that did step in, you can find a woman, a motherly figure that can make you laugh or make you feel better even.
Sure.
Right.
What were, in terms of comedians, you made the comment that women aren't funny, and I've never understood that comment because some of my favorite comedians were female. What are some of your as a comedian, some of the people that you aspired to when you go on stage? What would be some of the names that you guys really looked up to in terms of comedy?
I always looked up to, I was a huge SNL fan.
Okay.
So even as a child, I would just sit and watch it when I probably shouldn't have been. But I've always wanted to have lunch with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
And just talked with them and have wine with them and just laugh for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those really influenced me. Like I've watched Mean Girls way too many times.
Yeah. Christine, how about you?
For me, I'm going way back to Phyllis Diller. Was the first stand-up comedian I ever saw on TV, and I can't tell you, I was too young to really realize what her jokes were about, but I saw how she impacted like that crowd and the reaction and just her stage presence, and I've been striving towards that. Like you could never like duplicate that, but like that really inspired me. Like it caught my eye big time. And then there's people like Wanda Sykes. Oh my gosh, there's a ton. Like growing up though, it would have to be, there wasn't a lot out there.
Joan Rivers was always one of my favorites.
Yes.
Who you talk about on almost every podcast. Yes. Loves Joan Rivers.
Yes. And
me too, actually.
Her documentary, like just her, she's up there with Phyllis Diller for sure. Yeah. When she did the Fashion Police, oh my God, I would cry. I was laughing so hard on that show. It was so bad.
And Carol Burnett, like,
yes,
you know, like I do this like drunk mom impression, and it's pretty much Miss Hannigan. Like, so yeah.
Yes.
One thing about Joan Rivers, and I do want to ask you guys about this, is that she didn't seem that bothered by political correctness later in her career. Mm-hmm. She said some things that were, pretty wow. Do you guys feel that you're in a lane that you have to behave when it comes to how you present your comedy or your podcast?
Maybe the podcast, I don't know, maybe because it's new, but my comedy, I don't know how I ended up, I never thought I would perform the way I do, but it can get like, I guess naughty, but it's like, it's not like vulgar. Yeah. But I do hit on things like, I talk a lot about, my body parts, but I don't even know the word. Yeah. It's not like in a vulgar way. I'm just like, I draw light to it and then spin it. My goal is to spin it and make it be like, aging, for example. Yeah. That's where I'm right now. And I use that a lot. But I don't feel like anything is off limits. I think the things that feel like they should be off limits, if I was a little braver, I'd be going towards.
Well, and anything can be funny if it's said in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
So, but it's just, for me, I wouldn't describe myself as politically correct, but I'm also, I don't need to worry about it because I don't have inclinations that would be considered politically incorrect.
Yeah.
So, but no, I don't think anything. And I think anything can be funny. Like I've laughed really hard over rape jokes. Like but it just depends on the context, how it's said, the timing.
Sure.
So like anything can be funny.
Yeah. And I feel like Joan Rivers nailed that. Mm-hmm. So like everything she did tackle like later in her life, and she was doing it, like it may not seem bad now, but at the time it was just as over the line.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Like she went as close as she could go.
Oh yeah. Well, she made some remarks about the Holocaust and stuff that, wow. And
but
today,
if you see her documentary, she will hit on those things because she is telling you. She had in her documentary, she had something about she was making fun of a man she dated that had a disability. I guess he was missing a leg, and somebody screamed out, "My son!" She made a joke about Helen Keller regarding it, and somebody yelled out, "My son is deaf," and you see her say, "We have to laugh about these things. You have to laugh about the Holocaust, or where would we be?" Yeah. And I completely see that thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point of view. I can tell you here in the United States, and let me preface this by saying you guys are both from Canada. Politically and socially, what's the attitude towards the United States right now? Are we just like considered a circus down south? Or?
You're dirty.
Yeah, it's a bit of a circus right now. A stationary circus.
Yes.
Right now.
That's such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Not one we're going to join.
Yeah.
Okay, not when you're going to join. I don't blame you.
I want to keep these borders closed as long as possible until you guys get your shit together. Can I swear? Sorry.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's interesting because here again, over the years, there's been political trends, political philosophies and things. And some people might get a little offended if you said something about their man or their woman. But now people are in bubbles. I mean, they're in false realities, and you say anything that's counter, whether you mean it in jest or not, that's the opposite of their beliefs, and they're unhappy. They're coming at you. And it's frightening because people are voting this way. It's not just a matter of choosing what humor they like, but they're making decisions in terms of the political process based on these, what I would call false realities. It's scary. It's kind of scary down here. I got to tell you, there's been some bad times that I've been through politically in my time, but this has got to be. I don't know of a time when people were just in la la land like they are now. I hope things like that. Canadians seem pretty well grounded. Is that fair? Although you guys have had your moments too.
I think tribalism can infect any country, and I think it's about being aware. You can see it happen in some of like our more like in our prairie provinces a little bit more. Poison can infect from anywhere. It's a virus, right? And it's kind of cultish, so it's absolutely. Like, come along with me. It's great over here. So, I think as long as we can keep people, as educated as possible, that will help, no offense, our education system is better. And so, that helps, but it's hard when, I see people like on Facebook that are totally down the rabbit hole, if you will.
Sure.
And it's just, I don't think anything will reach them, but it's about reaching the people on the peripherals of those people. So that way there's less of them, before they get too far down.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you guys this. I personally believe that we have a police that likes to manage humor only because if, let's say, Jen, I have a political belief that's just totally opposite of yours, but if I can somehow construct a joke about your beliefs that make you laugh, I've made an inroad into you. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't like that. They want to shut humor down because of its power of influence. Do you guys have an opinion about that?
Oh, I think comedy is a brilliant way to help influence minds and, educate people and providing insight into different things. I don't know if you've seen the Jim Jeffries joke on gun control.
No, go ahead. Tell him.
Oh, well, I can't really, but it's just like, it's more, he talks about the fact that, everybody wants to have their guns and people are getting shot, and how in Australia they got rid of guns and nobody gets shot anymore. Yeah. So it's just like putting that into perspective, and it's very smart. And I think it got a lot of press, and I think it possibly opened up some minds. Yeah. Just in the sense, I don't know what your opinion is on the matter, but just a little bit more safety.
It's a complex subject in the United States, and it probably deserves, somewhat of a show of its own. But I absolutely agree in terms of, talking about things and laughing about them. Now, two of mine, I would say these two comedians are not only comedians, but they're kind of in a separate category from comedians. They were skilled communicators. One of them would have to be Richard Pryor, and the other one would be George Carlin. Those two are on a shelf by themselves, and they could make you laugh, even if you did not agree with what they were saying politically, because they both said some crazy things politically. But for some reason, even if you totally disagreed with them, you could laugh at them.
Yeah, and we so need one right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
you can feel it missing.
Moms are not funny. I was going to ask you for a cute example of a positive mom story that you had on the show, just very briefly. Do you have one?
Oh, goodness.
There's just so...
I know.
I can tell you that my mom was pretty funny. She passed away, unfortunately, about 2 years ago. But my grandmother, who died years ago, her mother, she was a character, and she was way ahead of her time in terms of the whole men thing. One of my grandparents, both of them were characters, and I often wish that I could somehow, if I was a screenwriter and wanted to, do a sitcom, some of their conversations.
Oh wow!
And I remember one time my grandpa was emotional, and he would get teary-eyed sometimes, even if he was having an argument, even if there was nothing. He was just, he was one of those old European immigrants, and would get very emotional. And I remember one time they were having a real bad fight, and my grandmother said to him, and I can still hear her saying this. She says, "People see you cry, and they say, 'Oh, what a sweet old man,' but I know what a son of a bitch you really are." And this line was a gem. She goes, "Your tears are my piss."
Oh, that's so good.
That's something that you would see like on an HBO sitcom. It's such
amazing. Amazing.
And they had conversations like that all the time, and I used to love being over there because they were the type that, here again, the old school type. They were arguing all the time, but as soon as something happened to one or the other, one of them was sick or something, like, "Oh, please!" And my grandma would always, I'm not exactly sure she had broken English, but it was Matka Boska, which means Mother Mary.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you could tell they loved each other, but they were bickering all the time, and the lines were just coming all the time.
They probably get better with time. They probably keep on adding to it.
So I actually, a good one came to mind. So we had Jill Kimmel on our show.
Okay.
And her mom loves to scare people. In particular, her sister, who is like very, very nice. And her sister was having surgery in the hospital. And so Jill's mom hid under the bed and waited
while the sister was sleeping.
Oh, wow.
Waited till she woke up to like reach out and terrify her.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I just think that's so creative and
weird.
Just so out there.
No wonder why all three of her kids are comedians.
Well, it sounds like you two yourselves obviously are very charming. You're very entertaining. So having your guests on and everything, I'm sure you guys got some great stuff that you've done, and more is coming. The name of the podcast is Moms Are Not Funny. Now, where can people find out more about your podcast, and where can they find you two online?
Yeah, so on social media, we everywhere on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Moms Are Not Funny.
Okay.
Our podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other places, Google, etc. We're not on iHeartRadio, but maybe we should fix that.
Yeah.
Christine? And Christine has a huge Twitter following.
Yes,
too.
yes.
Yeah.
I know she does. What are you on Twitter?
Christine Comedy.
Christine Comedy. Mm-hmm. Now you're also on TikTok.
Oh, I've been trying. It's hard. Billy Dees, it's so hard.
Yeah, it is, but you do very well on it.
I'm trying. I haven't done anything recently, but now that there's no more shows, I'll probably I'll turn to that because I got to have some outlet.
Jen,
have you tried the TikTok machine yet?
She needs to.
I have not. I don't. From a personal, all my stuff's private.
My dream,
the Moms Are Not Funny stuff.
My dream is that one day we are able to like get together and do them together. Would you do it then? Yes. We'd rock it.
I'll be my drunk mom for it.
Comedy does very well on social media, as you know, and TikTok is great. A lot of these people are very funny. They do the one-liners and all that. Christine, you do the sight gags and all that stuff very well. You do the little characters.
When she was on her roof, that one's my favorite one.
Oh, okay.
and I'm scared of heights.
That's funny. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on. It's always a joy to talk to you. Thank you for coming on and talking about your podcast. Once again, Moms Are Not Funny. You can find it anywhere pretty much podcasts are found. It'll turn up on most of your favorite podcasting networks. We've been talking to Jen and Christine. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In closing, I am Billy Dees, and I do want to tell you can find me on Twitter at Billy Dees. I haven't done much with YouTube and Facebook, although I'm cultivating it, so you can find us there. Without a doubt, my biggest following, of course, is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so do check me out. Thank you to my guests, Christine and Jen. Thank you for being on.
Thank you so much. It was so fun.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I'll talk to you again next week. Have a great day.